What's going on? What's going on? First little intro. Literally didn't do anything outside of click one button. But Tyson, bro, what's going on, man? First day of training camp. No practice, obviously, to dive into. That kicks off tomorrow. I'm freaking pumped for it. There's actually a lot of stuff to kind of dive into here, despite not having a practice. But outside of that, man, how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. But before we get started, man, rest in peace to Ozzy Osborne, a true pioneer in rock music. I love heavy metal all stuff. And growing up, I saw him several times in Black Sabbath and Ozzy. It's said he only played a couple weeks ago, this farewell concert a couple weeks ago in England. That's crazy, man, how fast time flies. But the thoughts and prayers with his family, man. He is a true rock icon, man.
Yeah, dude, I actually didn't see or hear about it until, I don't know, like an hour and a half ago. I wasn't really online, in the beginning part of the day or anything. And then, I saw it. I'm like, damn, man, like I felt like it came out of nowhere. Granted, it's not, I wasn't,
Yeah.
I don't know how or anything like that. I haven't really been following it, but I just got the news, man. It's
not very often where you see rock musicians or musicians from all across the world sharing their sympathies, man. He had such an impact on so many different facets of music where you see it everywhere, man. Every band, every musician, guitarists, singers, radio stations. It's pretty crazy, man. So, very sad. His health deteriorated pretty quickly, but a true rock, he's an icon, man. Phenomenal musician and singer.
When was the last time you saw him?
I went to Ozfest a bunch of times, man. It was a few years ago, but I went a lot. His health kind of deteriorated like the recent years, but he was just electric, man. His shows were wild. It was such a good time and excellent entertainer. He also had a huge influence on so many other people. Like you saw Corey Taylor from Slipknot talked about it, where he was like, he had a huge impact on my life, and how he influenced so many bands to get started up and backed them. Yeah. And it's sad, man.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. Like I said, bro, I hadn't really looked into it too much yet. Dade, God bless Ozzy and his family. But yeah, man, like to kind of transition, going from that, and to be honest, like my best friend actually had to put his dog down today, so I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a little crazy, but. Yeah, dude. Did you catch any of the Jets pressers?
Yeah, well, I'm excited, man. It's like they had all the big stars talk today, and you wanted to see, when you have Sauce talking, Garrett talk, they're going to talk about getting their contract and the organization believing in them and them believing in the organization. But Garrett Wilson stuck out to me, man, where he looks so driven and so motivated, and it's about winning now. It's no more about talking. It's no about this. It's just we want to win football games, and every player is universally saying that we want to win more than 7 games. We want to play meaningful games in December. We're tired of the same old nonsense. We're tired of being mediocre, and we are the guys that got to make a change. Like they're like embracing that challenge and that leadership role, which I really thoroughly like a lot. And you could see how Aaron Glenn's pushed their buttons a little bit too. Like they're holding themselves accountable. I got to be a better receiver. I got to be a better blocker. I've got to be a better corner. Like they're saying, we know we have to improve for our team to be better. And it's a different mindset. It seems like, man, it really does.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to. We say this almost like every podcast episode, but like we don't want to sit here and anoint Aaron Glenn. Oh my God, he's done so much, and he's this elite head coach and everything like that, and everything's solved in one off season. We haven't even had real adversity strike this Jets team yet. If we start 0-3, 0-4, how does the team respond? That is really. That's going to be the in my opinion, the real test for this football team to actually see how the players, when things get difficult, how do these guys respond? Do they pick up, continue the trends from last season, finger pointing, blaming others, things like that? Or is the culture truly changing? And, to your point, again, I don't want to anoint Glenn and throw him a bunch of roses and stuff like that. I know it's early, but everything I've heard from Aaron Glenn, I love.
Yep.
I love. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but just to take your point, though, it's like it's attention to detail. Like I feel like there was a complacent environment here where the players had to manage the other players. They had to kind of like Aaron Glenn's more hands-on approach. But listen, this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it. This is our standard now. And if it's not at our standard, it's going to be our standard. We're going to make it that way. It's a little bit of a firmer approach, more direct approach. And if you listen to the press conferences, they all hint towards that. Every player, dude, at some point in the press conference, they talk about his level of just being direct. There's no gray area anymore. This is what I want from you. That's it. do this. And it kind of seems like even like the Leicester players, like Tony Adams talked about it. Like it's not just a stars. They're all saying like we're being united by knowing what our roles and responsibilities are, what our coach expects from us day in and day out, and that's how you set your culture. So they started that in OTAs. You build on it in minicamp, and now tomorrow when they practice, it goes into fruition where you see, okay, this is what he wants, this is what he expects, and we know we have to do in the film room, in the weight room. Like you're eliminating all the excuses, dude. Really, and that's what has been the biggest concern for what 4 or 5 years here with the Jets.
Yeah, and that was like the big draw coming in from Detroit. Like, I mean, how I felt like there was like literally countless. I can't even count how many people talked about Aaron Glenn, his ability to flip cultures, or kind of just flip the overall identity of a football team. Like just picking. And I know you always talk about Bill Parcells, and I always felt like even though he was a little bit before my time, when you go back and you watch maybe a biography or you read something about him, or you talk to, like for example, like my dad, like he loves Bill Parcells. And one of the things that I personally admire about Parcells, it always kind of seemed like he was able to pick up a franchise that was just in complete disarray, build them up, leave, and do it again. And I like that to me is like the definition of a great football coach.
100%.
Not to take any credit away from like, a coach maybe like Mike Tomlin, where you step in and you have great ownership and the team's built up, taking over for Bill Cowher and whatnot. Again, not taking anything away from coaches in those situations, but when you walk into an absolute dumpster fire that's just labeled as a dysfunctional mess, a losing franchise, a losing culture, and you're able to flip the script, you're able to turn the tables on the rest of the NFL, that to me is really, really impressive. But again, Aaron Glenn has not done that. But when you look at everything leading up to this point, the track record, the resume of AG, him being a former player, everything coming out of New Orleans, everything coming out of Detroit, all the head coaching interest over the past couple of off seasons, who he's worked under, the overall production with his defenses, everything is trending in the right direction, man. And I just cannot wait to see how this team actually looks on Sundays. Like you kind of feel like all the negative press last season, like there's so much built up anger, or I like to imagine that there's built up anger in the players, Quincy, Garrett, all these guys. They just want to get out on the field on Sundays and just, again, just change the narrative.
Well, you see, like Garrett Wilson's got a little fire to him, but he also said something that was very important. He said Aaron Glenn was a Jet. He's already been through this as a player and experienced the good and the bad. So he was in rock bottom with the Jets and watched it develop and mold into something good. He's been a part of the lines. Like the players are talking about, like, listen, our coach has been there, done that already. He's been as a player, he's been through this, and they seem to trust him more about that. But listen, the guy knows what he's talking about. He's actually did in this building, not that building exactly, but like in this market with this team. He knows how fickle this fan base is. He knows the media, how crazy it is. He knows about all the losing and all the nonsense that's around this team. And he can talk to it. And the players are like, you know what? He's not lying. It's just, you get that like kind of credibility, I think, from the players, like the instant respect. Like, all right, we're all ears right now with what you're telling us. Now it's got to play out in practice. And it's fascinating to me, but you're seeing buy-in from the most important guys that were, say, if you're Malachi Corley, you look up to Garrett Wilson, right? That's the guy you look up to. If you're Aaron Smith, who's your leader? Garrett Wilson. On defense, you got Sauce Gardner, you got Quincy Williams. They've all bought in. If they're speaking the same language as the coach, it helps him, get his message through a lot faster.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Draft good players, develop those good players into great players, and then re-sign those great players to kind of, continue growing, 100%. Not only just physically, but, off the field, in the locker room, on the practice field, to help kind of just trickle in and build up that culture. I feel like the Baltimore Ravens do such a great job with that. Yeah. Like just drafting a good player or a couple of good players that maybe like a specific unit, like defensive line or offensive line or something like that. And then a couple years down the road, all of a sudden these good prospects are now great players, and they're teaching the new guys coming in not only just, again, on the field, how to be a better player, but also how to practice hard, how to be a Raven. And it's just this big trickle-down effect, and it's just this, snowball where, those younger players end up doing the same exact thing. But I feel like they have that at like every single position, which is crazy. So hopefully the Jets can get to that point. One huge positive bit of news, especially for the players, man, because they deserve it. The upgraded locker room. That news came out this morning. I remember I was kind of busy when the news came out. I like looked at my phone. It was a tweet from Adam Schefter, and they had like this cool like black ceiling and like the green lights are going. I'm like, dude, this thing like this is sick.
Yep. Well, you know what it is? It's a reaction to the offseason where the Jets were scrutinized on pretty much every level for having the worst owner in sports, worst facilities, worst that. I mean, I've been to Florham Park a million times. The fields are gorgeous. The weight room is great, but they modernized and said, okay, listen, the players you've spoken out, we've listened to you. We made change. They have a freaking barber shop in there, which is wild.
Yeah, bro, it's like a college vibe, honestly. Like if you look at some of these college facilities, they're top notch, man. Just millions upon millions of dollars go into some of these facilities. And honestly, when I saw that barbershop, I'm like, dude, this is like a college kind of not atmosphere, right? Not in a bad way, a college vibe in a bad way, but just like they're really going all out to make sure this thing's hooked up.
Yeah, it's a place you want to be. It's a place you want to go work out in. It's a place you want to do your extra film study. It's a place you want to like. It's creating that environment, that team-oriented environment where it's like, okay, listen, we're eliminating excuses, we're eliminating problems, we're making you as comfortable as possible and as motivated as possible to get the best results as possible. So it makes sense. And Woody Johnson he's listened to the feedback, dude. You know what? He put money into the facility. He spent big money on Sauce. He spent big money on Garrett. Like people call him cheap. He spent the money. He upgraded the facility. So like, I'm not giving Woody Johnson saying he's great, but it's little things where you can't overhaul an organization in one night or 2 weeks. But this entire offseason, they made a concerted effort to change your culture, change your mindset, change your organization. They blew out a lot of the staff, and the executive level as well, administrative levels. So they're making a lot of changes, man. And I think everybody's embracing it and they're seeing it. It's one team, one voice, one mission. No more of these narratives and all this, like these divided locker room or divided coaching staff. Everybody's on the same page from Woody on down, and it's encouraging, man. Again, it's friggin' July 22nd, but all we can do is react to that. But based on what we've seen in the past, this is an upgrade. This is an improvement.
So I actually have a pretty big question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You got your obvious storylines and whatnot kind of heading into training camp, but what are maybe like 2 or 3 things that stand out to you? I mean, it could be an obvious one,
Mm-hmm.
it could be, definitely a mainstream storyline for sure. But what are some things that you personally are really maybe interested in? It could be something big, it could be something small in regards to the New York Jets this training camp cycle.
The attention to detail in practice, like the accountability, attention to detail in practice on every level, and the activity, the approach of Aaron Glenn, how he handles everybody. If he's truly the CEO type head coach, where he's involved in offense, defense, special teams. If the coaches are very hands-on, like working on fundamentals, working on basics, high intensity, holding guys accountable. A lot of mistakes you're not going to play. Like that's the things where we look at the team last year, heavily penalized, a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers, complacency, whatever else. You can make a case a lot of practices were half-assed and sluggish, and you weren't getting your best efforts and things like that. You want to see that change. That's what I want to see. Like where players walk out, like this is different. Where the media walks up, like this is different. Like, and it's something that they don't have to tell you it is. You can just see it. You could tell when things are different. And this team is like, it's like they're sharper, they're crisper, they're working harder, they're more bought in. And that's, to me, is I'm most interested in, especially with the offense. The offense is going to be behind the defense, no matter what. It's the way it always is, because it's a little more difficult. You got to learn all these different passing schemes. If they're making a lot of mistakes, how do they handle that? Do it again. Like how intricate do they get with this, and how accountable do they hold them? And if a guy isn't holding up his end of the bargain, say it's a rookie or say it's a veteran, say it's Brandon Stevens, for example, he's not playing well. Azie Thomas is. Does Azie Thomas start pushing him? Like, I'm curious about how they handle position battles, adversity, competition. There's so much to look forward to in this training camp. I'm actually excited about preseason, to be honest with you, the preseason games. You're going to see all these young guys competing. If you have a head coach talking about competition, what that means is if you compete, you're going to play. If you're playing well, you're going to play. Now you can earn it. Then you buy into that instead of, I think, the last couple of years where you had this ready-to-win team where everybody thought they were already starters. You kind of don't maybe work as hard. You kind of feel like you've arrived. And you don't have to put in that extra effort or go to the next level. I think it's going to be different, dude. I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, you mentioned last year, man, like with preseason. Looking back, I mean, we kind of knew this like at the time, but it almost felt like preseason, or like how Saleh treated the preseason games. It was almost like a weird walk on eggshells. Who's playing? Who's not going to play? How many drives is this person going to get? Is the media going to be okay if this guy sits and if this guy plays? And it was just super weird. It never really felt like it was a structured plan going into the year. Like, hey, this is our goal coming out of preseason. It just kind of felt like a week by week thing. I'm totally fine with the week by week approach in the regular season, but
Yep.
to be honest with you, I think the preseason, excluding injuries, needs to be taken with an approach with, hey, we have 3 games here in the span of these 3 weeks. Let's divvy up snap counts now. Let's try to figure out who the positional battles are,
Yep.
or where these battles are taking place. Young guys versus old guys, maybe guys in expiring contracts, or maybe guys on the roster bubble. Just, I think it's pretty. I don't want to downplay the job of an NFL head coach, but I just feel like it's pretty obvious. And you could talk about this with college coaches. I mean, I would say the majority of cases, in regards to the spring game, they're not just suiting up and rolling
Yep.
out there and like, all right, have like,
Yep.
we're taking it, but day by day. No, there's a structured plan in place with
Like,
reps, with what they want to do
exactly.
offensively, defensively. There's a time management aspect to the whole thing as well. Um, that's what I want to see from the actual preseason games itself. Like, I don't want Glenn to, and I don't think he will, but I don't want Glenn to be maybe bullied into, oh, this guy has to play. This guy needs reps.
Yeah.
If Glenn doesn't feel like he needs reps, just don't do
Yep.
it. Like, I want Glenn to run this team the way he wants to do it,
Yep.
compared to Saleh and Ulbrich, where it almost felt like they were bullied into making the like popular or mainstream media
Yep.
decision. Where I don't know, it's just
I
super
agree with you. I completely agree with you, dude.
getting Rodgers out. Like, that was such a weird thing. I remember almost like watching those solid press conferences, and he, like, I watched him feeling awkward about saying that he's not going to play, or he's only going to play one drive, or I don't know. It's just like this strange dynamic where, like, if you watch a Ravens press conference, if you watch, a Chiefs press conference, a
You're
Nick
nailing it.
Sirianni press conference, it's just like, this is what we're doing. Deal with it.
Yeah, Salah seemed like he put a premium on the joint practices, and then it's like, okay, if you're gonna do that, that's great, but like, where do you practice your game situation, July situation, all these things, and then the preseason, it seemed like the players had too much say, maybe somebody else had too much say. Like, it was like, listen, what are we doing here? And then then when the season starts, none of these guys have any chemistry. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They look sloppy. Like, and the one thing I keep going back to, but it just resonated with me, where Aaron Glenn's like, listen, so they keep saying Jets tackling was really bad last year. He's like, you know how you improve tackling? By tackling. We're going to tackle in practice. We're going to make a concerted effort to clean a lot of stuff up by actually doing it in practice. And they even talked about this in mandatory minicamp, where a lot of the drills were game situation drills, which the Jets don't usually do that, which is like, no idea why, because it probably helps you. So I agree with you, dude. You want to see a clear and concise plan, no stuttering at the podium. Like, no, this is what we're doing and this is why. And it seemed like he seems early on very calculated, and he knows every facet what's going on, where you can speak to it. You're not going to catch him off guard with a question. He knows he can
Right,
talk to me.
right.
Like, here's my plan. Here's why. If you don't like it, I generally don't care. This is my vision, my team, my camp, right? Where it seemed in the past, I think when you have a coach on a hot seat with guys like Aaron Rodgers in your locker room, you're like, oh, we got to do this, or maybe even like you prominent guys like C.J. Mosley, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys that have been here a while, like, coach, we got it. Don't worry about it. Now it's like new sheriff in town. I respect everybody in the locker room, but this is my way of doing business now. You guys all follow suit. That, I think it makes a big difference, dude. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, even look at how Dan Campbell shook things up with going from like Matt Patricia to his style. I mean, that, even just talking to Lions fans, right, watching the Hard Knocks and everything, like, you could tell there was just a different sense of urgency from those Lions teams, how they were ran, and obviously it's relevant because Aaron Glenn and Tanner Ingstrand and a couple other guys as well are coming in from Detroit. So it's almost, gosh, man, it's eerily similar how the Jets are building out the team and how they're making these changes. It's just so similar to Detroit, man. Like, hiring a bunch of former players, adding experience to the front office, doing things a little bit differently, getting ownership on board with a different plan. Again, man, like, you look at Detroit, I think back, like, all those Thanksgivings, they're losing games, losing seasons, top 5 pick, just dysfunctional ownership question marks. Boom. Brett Holmes, Dan Campbell, the minute they walk in, culture's changed. It didn't really reflect it in the win-loss, record books for a couple years, or, season and a half. But I mean, when they started accumulating talent, the culture was already there. like the core of what
Yeah.
Lions football is was already cemented in. This year with the Jets, dude, with Aaron Glenn, it's like, hey, can we cement that core? What does a New York Jet? What does a New York Jet look like?
Yep. And they're determining it right now. They're actually signing them. Jamie Sherwood, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. They're spending big money on young core players. Saying, listen, you exemplify our vision for this team. Young, fast, aggressive, love the game of football. You're keeping your young talent, and they're very similar to the Lions too, where they have talent. Like we talked about this last night, where it's just like this isn't the team that's solid inherited. Like, oh, JV team, we have no talent here. We're gonna suck. Like no expectation. Jets have talent. They have talent on both sides of the ball. If you coach them up, it's going to make an impact. And something you talked about too, which Garrett talked about and Sauce talked about too. It's like former players on the staff is paying dividends. As when we like assume certain things, like you have Chris Banjo used to play it, or Aaron Glenn, like you assume that players are going to like that. When you hear them talk about it, like listen, my coach played the game at a very high level. He understands what I have to go through. He understands what I have to do to prepare. Like that goes a long way, dude, for these guys. Especially after last year where they seemed like they were poorly coached, they had no direction. So like the assumptions we made are kind of being said now by the players, which is encouraging as well.
Yeah. I think, man, I gotta be honest.
It's awesome, dude. It's cool to be, it's like it's exciting time of year, dude. It's friggin' the training camp is starting. All the nonsense is gone. The headlines are gone. No contract drama. Like if you're a Jet fan, why not be happy and embrace this? It's a young team that's going to fight their ass off to win football games with a fiery coach who will take no garbage from anybody. And that's all we can ask for right now, right? What else? It's easy to rally around this team. It really is.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a renewed sense of
pride.
Maybe, yeah, I was going to say passion, but pride within the locker room. Not to say that no one cared last year, because that's, obviously was the case, man. Quincy Williams, Quinnen, Garrett, like you saw his frustration. But this year, dude, and again, it's just press conferences. We haven't even seen any contact practices or anything, but it definitely just feels like, hey, man, like I'm wearing the green and white. Like I'm playing hard. I'm going 100%. Like I got to play for AG. I got to play, not only just for like my reputation and my contract, but also because this is what this team now requires. And I just didn't really feel like that maybe standard was there in the past. And by the way, I don't want to sit here and, dump on Saleh his entire tenure. K-Dude made the point before. Saleh might be one of those guys that's an amazing coordinator, but a terrible head coach. I honestly don't think Saleh was a terrible head coach. Like I don't lump him into Hugh Jackson, like 1-31. Just an absolute just disaster. I mean, he had a couple 7-win seasons, and the defenses at times were really, really good, and we did see some awesome development with a couple defensive players. I just don't think he was a great coach. I don't really think he was a good coach. Terrible, I think, is going overboard, in my opinion. I just think he's a little bit below average, and I think the requirements of becoming being a successful head coach, when you look at that checklist, Saleh had a couple of them, but it was a pretty incomplete list when it was all said and done. Handling adversity, handling the media, player management, clock management, in-game situations, stuff like that.
Yeah, and to your point, Aaron Glenn was a Jet. He was proud to be a Jet. He's proud to be this coach. Like his opening press conference was the message to the team. Like, listen, I want to win. Like, I'm not here to get pushed around. I'm not here to lose. We're not the same old Jets. But he has that passion and pride where, like, listen, I love this team. This is the job I wanted. You talk about it all the time, Ian. Like, this is a guy, this job, he wanted this job. He wants to be this head coach. He wants to turn this organization around. And people feel that passion and pride with him, and it resonates with the rest of the locker room. You listen to Garrett talk today. Listen to these guys talk. They want to be here because, like, you know what? This coach believes in me. I believe in him. I'm tired of losing here. This organization and my teammates deserve better. And they believe that. They talk about, like, as a team, we deserve better. We need to earn it because we all should be winning a lot more games now. So that's how you change things, man. It really is. And that when you have a guy that can look you right in your eyes, you played sports, dude. When you have a coach to look you eye in the eye, and you can say, oh, listen, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's all business. Like, we're going to work hard day in and day out because he wants results. And if he doesn't get them, we're not playing. So I think in the past, like, I dump on Saleh because I don't think he's a good coach at all. But I think the team got away with a lot of things because they thought they were much better than they were. You know, they were Super Bowl or bust for 2 years, and they acted like it, and they didn't play they didn't play at all. So now it's like back to basics, back to hard-nosed football. We earn everything. And I think it's great. And when you hear the players like Quinnen talk about it and Sauce, these guys look up to him, man. Quinnen's one of the best players in football, dude, at his position. When he talks to the locker room and says, listen, this is what we're going to do. Yes, sir. Especially when you have all these undrafted free agents, guys trying to make the team, the Leonard Taylors, all these guys, they look up. All right, yes, sir. Let's go do this. Boom. That's how you get productivity.
Yeah, and one point that you always make, good or not, let me scratch that. Not good players, great players want to be coached hard.
Bingo.
They want to have someone in their corner, not just being a yes man. Oh my God, you're so amazing, and you're this amazing player. We just love you so much. I mean, some are arguably, but I think if like the true great ones, like the elite of the elite players, like these guys, and I'm not necessarily calling, everyone on this Jets roster elite, but just, the Garrett Wilsons of the world, the Sauce Gardners, the Quinnens, the Quincy's, these are really, really good players, man. And I think bringing in a coach like this, Glenn, and then the trickle down from, Glenn to Steve Wilkes, his veteran experience, him being around the game for such a long time, adding even guys, from the Lions organization, Dre Bly's a former player, right? Like you're adding experience, you're adding former players, but you're adding guys that they're not going to just, bend down and kiss these guys' toes. Like, oh my God, you're so amazing.
I agree.
Where it's almost like this weird dynamic of the coach looking up to the player. Sometimes you see that in high school and college, where a player is just so damn dominant, where the coach is just like, we just have to get him the ball. We just have to, do kind of whatever he wants and whatever he says, because we have to keep, make sure he's happy so he doesn't transfer or something like that. And I'm not going to say it feels like it's the opposite here with the Jets, but it seems very like old school football 101. Just an old physical style of approach, right? We have this standard. We're really trying to change this culture. You're not going to change the culture by not really doing any big changes. You know what I mean? Like the Jets haven't been the playoffs, and I don't even know how long, 13 years, 14 years. Glenn can't just walk in and just be status quo. Oh yeah, let's have the same exact front office. Let's have, multiple of keep half the coaching staff and just kind of be okay with expectations and everything like that. I just feel like if you want to make a big change, you have to make big changes. And Glenn's doing that. It feels like it's going over really, really well. I mean, I know for me as a fan, it is. I know for you as a fan, it is. It really seems like for the players, it is. I love also, too, I don't want this to get lost in the shuffle. I love how Darren Muji is being proactive and he's signing these young players. But, it just feels like Muji's active, like he's awake and he's monitoring, right? Who's available? Are there free agents out there? We're in a good position with the cap, right? The Aaron Rodgers thing is a bit annoying for next year, considering we still have to
nothing to do with that
money in 2026. But it is what it is. That's really the only negative thing against the cap. So it just feels like Darren Muji has a really good understanding. It almost feels like he's like this overseer. And he has like eyes everywhere on the roster, on the coaching staff. Him and Glenn are working hand in hand. Obviously, it's going to take a couple seasons to see if his free agent signings and his draft picks work out. But I got to be honest, man. Like a lot of the moves that Darren Muji has made so far are moves that I would make. So I'm not necessarily having to convince myself, okay, this is a good move. It just feels different, man. And I don't want it to, I don't want to come across as I'm trying to like sell hope like this is the year where we turn it around. But when you have a new GM, when you have a new head coach, especially a guy who was a Jet, a former player, someone whose resume points to him being a culture changer, coming in from one of the biggest disasters in the NFL the last 20 years in the Detroit Lions, being able to turn that job around with everyone, just a complete hands-on approach, coming into this Jets organization with all of these changes and seeing the player buy-in. I'm really liking what and hearing what I'm seeing.
And another part of this is Justin Fields, who is a guy like Aaron Rodgers was the voice of the team, the captain of the team, the face of the franchise, and the team went by him. It was win or lose, he was the focal point of everything. Justin Fields is not that guy, not about headlines. And to hear Garrett Wilson talk about him today, If anybody didn't watch Garrett Wilson's press conference, I highly recommend it because I thought it was phenomenal. He talked about Justin Fields' work ethic, his mindset, his dedication to his craft, like his leadership. And that's where it's like you're getting another guy, another hard-nosed guy. It's all about just hard work. Doesn't care about slogans. Doesn't care about, that's just, they're all about ball now, which I think is the change from the last couple of years of this team. I think this team got caught into hard knocks and Super Bowl or bust, and we're great. We're the best team in the AFC, all this stuff. They lost kind of their focus a little bit in their direction. And now it's getting reeled back in with a new leader of their locker room in Justin Fields, who I'm not saying he's great. I'm not going to say he's going to be a superstar, but he matches Aaron Glenn's mindset and his psyche and his approach to football, which is key right now as you try to get your voice in the locker room. It's like, listen, we're going to work hard, man. We're going to grind this out. It's going to be difficult. And they've embraced it it's no nonsense. And I think that also helps too. And if not, you have Tyrod Taylor there, who's the same kind of guy, man. He could have been a captain last year. Reputable, quality player, hard worker. So it's the team's all on the same page. There's no dividing or divisive force right now.
Yeah, and you kind of look at when Detroit, or when Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell first took over in Detroit again, as far as the quarterback position is concerned, what do? They ultimately acquired Jared Goff, and they made this big-time franchise-altering. Matt Stafford is loved, dude, in Detroit.
Yep.
Like my buddy Kyle is, this huge Lions fan. He calls him Staff Goat instead of Stafford. And like he was pushing so hard for the Rams to win the Super Bowl once the Lions were eliminated. The Lions weren't in it that year, but the year that Stafford won it, or the Rams won it, like he was so happy for him. But when that trade initially went down, like there was a good chunk of Lions fans that were like, "Oh, like you're ripping our heart out here, man!" Like Matt Stafford, number 1 overall pick. He's just like been such a pillar, such a tough player, playing through injuries. He's like just this tough physical dude. Wears his emotions on his sleeve, just this gunslinger mentality. Like you gotta love Matthew Stafford. And the Lions traded him, dude. They traded him for Jared Goff and a couple of picks. It was a great deal for both sides. Obviously, Stafford gets a ring. And the quarterback that the Lions get back was a guy who, I don't want to say he was kicked to the curb.
He's close.
Because he did have a lot of success with the Rams, and the success, Goff's success and Field success, two different things. Obviously, Goff had a lot more, and he had playoff experience and this and that. Granted, in a much better situation, but both guys, likable traits. Both guys are first-round picks. Both guys are, thrusted in to these NFL franchises at a young age with the expectation, save us, please. And Goff, to a certain extent, with Sean McVay, did flip the LA Rams around, but they needed just kind of that ceiling shattering type of move, which is Matthew Stafford. They didn't feel like Goff could really break through the ceiling. He was just kind of that high floor. Like he's going to give you that high floor and be okay. He's going to be safe, but is he really going to be that guy to take you over the top? And the Lions, I mean, they're looking at Goff like, hey, this guy, it's very difficult to find a franchise quarterback in football. We all know this. Goff, in a sense, was bought on the low. It's just like, hey, man, like number 1 overall pick, a super accurate quarterback. He's won a lot of games. He has playoff success. He's a veteran in this league. Like there are likable traits here. And how this kind of all ties in with, Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, and Justin Fields, it's not a complete one-to-one comparison, but I do find it pretty interesting that the Jets didn't go down the draft route. Because, normally you see like the new regime come into the organization. And they're like, okay, we need a fresh start. We're going to bump whoever was here before, like Sam Darnold out, Zach Wilson in. Houston, when DeMeco Ryans came in, boom, CJ Stroud, Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick, second year with their head coach, but, first year with Mike Borgonzi as general manager. The point is the Jets opted for the former first-round pick that has flashed, that has shown some upside, but hasn't really put it all together. Fields, I don't want to say he was just dumped by Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh actually wanted him back and chose the Jets. But I just kind of find it interesting that, in a situation that Glenn is now in, where he's the head coach of this football team, he's the shot caller, you're just seeing a lot of similar moves that the Lions just made a couple years ago when they were in the same position, try to change this dysfunctional organization into being a competent player in the pros, in the league here. And I just, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's all a coincidence, but I think there's something to this here.
No, I think it's calculated. I think they have a complete idea of what they want out of their quarterback, what kind of leader they want, a physical player, what kind of in terms of his leader communication style. I think they know exactly what they're looking for because they've seen it. Again, I keep talking about it. Aaron Glenn's been through this 3 or 4 times rebuilding teams, and he's seen how teams have done it. What kind of quarterback play do you need? What kind of line play do you need? What kind of defense do you need, right, to turn this around legitimately and quicker rather than taking a long time? And Justin Fields to me is interesting, man. What I'm most curious about is you're going to go in the training camp right now with no stories, no saga, no storylines. Everybody's like, all right, Jets are interesting. We have no idea what to expect. So if you're the member of the media, you've got to find a story. The story is going to be what is Justin Fields? And we're going to nitpick the hell out of him because we need to sell clicks here. We got to get something out of here. I'm curious how Aaron Glenn handles it when Justin Fields has a bad practice, if he's inconsistent. Now everybody's saying the same thing, right? Inconsistent passer, holds on to the ball too long, stares in, he doesn't go through all his reads. If that happens early in camp where fans are there to see it and the media is there to see it, how does Glenn handle that? If Tyrod Taylor's playing really well and Justin's still trying to figure things out, how does he handle that? I'm curious how he manages the situation because according to Aaron Glenn, this is his guy. This is the guy they want to build around him. They believe in him. He's a Jets starting quarterback. You know how it works here, man, where it's just if he gets off to a great start, then it's easy around here. But I'm curious how Glenn handles the fickle nature of this situation right now.
Again, I don't want to sit here and give Aaron Glenn a bunch of flowers and you're this amazing guy and just, who knows? Maybe the Jets go 0-13 to start the year. Everything's out on the table, right? Even though I love a lot of these moves, we haven't seen it actually happen yet. But with that said, I think it was just really, really, really important. And, you could agree with, this is one of the biggest points that we were talking about pretty much really since Saleh was fired, but it really ramped up in January when the Jets started talking to these different coaches, Arthur Smith, all these different guys, Vance Joseph. I know for me, I think for you too, the number one thing that you wanted or that we wanted, a lot of Jets fans wanted, a culture builder.
Bingo.
Someone who wanted the job, someone who was qualified for the job, and someone who could actually flip the script and create out with the old, in with the new. Yep. And I think a lot of the candidates that the Jets were talking to didn't really fit that mold. Mm-mm. Like Loxley from Maryland, you just had some uninspiring, no disrespect, but uninspiring options. And I think with Aaron Glenn, even though he's not the picture perfect guy, he kind of felt like during this cycle the picture perfect guy was Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson. But I think when you take a look at what the Jets specifically needed, Aaron Glenn checked the most boxes. Again, along with Mike Vrabel, I think there's a lot of carry over there, both old school, physical styles of coaches. Mm-hmm. Both guys are former players. Both guys kind of have been labeled as player coaches. Guys that players and fans really like to rally behind. But obviously, Vrabel, you kind of felt like he was gonna
100%.
Once Mayo was let go. But anyway, the point is, it goes beyond just, hey, what was your offensive rank? Have you worked with quarterbacks? What was your defensive rank? Oh, you're a defensive guy? Is this really the guy for the team? No, the Jets are too big of a job, not to put the Jets on a pedestal, but the amount of things that needed to be cleaned up, it's a big job, dude. And the fact that the Jets were able to grab one of their own in AG, I think it just goes to show, hey, you know what? We made the right hire. If Arthur Smith had this job, again, no disrespect to anybody, but if Mike Loxley grabbed this job, if one of these names that the Jets were interested in, Matt Nagy was another one, would they have made a locker room, swap? Would Garrett be re-signed on this big deal? Would Sauce be as excited to rejoin and kind of buy back into the New York Jets after just years of dysfunction? Maybe, but I would probably lean towards no. Probably not. Maybe one of those gets done. But I don't know. It just feels like there's that, again, that renewed sense of energy, renewed sense of pride and passion, new blood in the building, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and speaking of that, just and breaking news came out before we did the show. I know you did a video on it. Is Mike Westhoff, a guy that's beloved to Jet fans, an excellent special teams coach, an excellent mentor for young coaches. He knows the rule. I actually interviewed him a few years ago. He knows the NFL rule book inside out and backwards. He's always suggesting the rules. He's a penalty guy where he's like examining penalties, how to avoid penalties, all this stuff. He's come to Jet camp, dude. He's got ties to Aaron Glenn. He's got ties to Chris Banjo. It's like, and the one thing I like about Aaron Glenn, he's not scared to say, you know what? Let's bring my mentors in here too to help out. Let them oversee what I'm doing. I'm welcome to feedback and insight. If I may have to cater some things or just share some, like have a think tank, no big deal. But you get one of the best special teams minds in the game to come help you at Jets camp, not a problem to me, dude. It's like things like that you're using your resources. You're hoping maybe at some point North Turner comes in, looks, because Scott Turner's here. Maybe he's on the sideline. Hey, you know what? Check this out. You can't have enough knowledge on a sideline, dude. You can't. It's not possible, especially with a young team, a young staff. So it's encouraging as well, man.
Yeah, ultimately, this coach didn't really work out, but one of my favorite things about Antonio Pierce when he, we talked about this during the season, but one of my favorite things that he did was when he took over as, the Raiders' full-time head coach, he acknowledged and had the self-awareness, hey, I have not been a head coach. Yeah, I'm a great coordinator, a great coach, both in the collegiate ranks and so far in the pros. Yes, I was a great player. Yes, I can relate to players. And I did get this interim job by himself, for what he was able to do. But he acknowledged that he didn't have all the answers. Yep. And what did he do? He reached out to Tom Coughlin. He reached out to Marvin Lewis. He reached out to Adam Gase. It didn't matter. He was reaching out to guys that he knew, guys that were head coaches before, and asked questions. He was like, hey, help me out here. I have a bunch of questions. Can you guys assist me? And with those three guys specifically, they all met with Pierce. They all assisted the Raiders in one way or another. And I just love that kind of approach for a young coach, because I think a lot of you hear all the time, like the NFL, like there's a lot of egos and there's a lot of personality and divas and whatnot, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whether it's a front office. And one of the things that bothered me about the last regime was like this sense of arrogance, like we know what we're doing and no one else like can criticize or, have an opinion because we're the smartest people in the room and we actually know what we're doing. And in the end, they did it. You can look at free agent signing blunders, draft picks that didn't work out, questionable coaching decisions, what have you, right? Again, not to dump on anybody here, but it's
the truth.
Like both of these guys were let go. And it just kind of being, and it really hit me when the Jets lost to the Raiders in Vegas to Pierce as an interim head coach. And it was just like, how did that team look more prepared? So again, I like the open book mentality from Aaron Glenn. Hey, you guys can come in, you can ask me questions. I'm going to reach out to my connections and bring, ideas and opinions into the mix, because honestly, even though it's not the easiest thing to hear, like constructive criticism could be a very good thing. I think more ideas can be a good thing. It definitely reaches a point of overkill when you have too much clutter, but I mean, it's freaking day one at training camp. You're not going to, reach overkill on day one at training camp. You know what I mean? And Mike West.
But it's also it's your first year of implementing your scheme and your system. So if you have an excellent veteran mind, like a mentor, just overseeing it and saying, listen, man, I understand what you're trying to do. Maybe change this a little bit to make it easier. And then a year from now, and Aaron Glenn's already done it once. All right, I know it works, doesn't work, but to have that extra eyeball or extra set of eyeballs watching what you're doing and overseeing, and not being like an overbearing figure on the practice field, just overlooking, like, listen, you know what? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do this. Maybe change this. Having that sounding board is invaluable, dude. I mean, even like having Rick Spielman with Muji, helping him, like it's just your team. Your team goal is to win football games and find any way you can to do it. So having a Westhoff come in, I'm sure at some point Parcells will be here, checking things out, looking over one of his favorite players and check, okay, this is what you're doing. I get it, but it's all good things, man. And I think I'm just excited. I'm not guaranteeing this means anything for the Jets this year, but if you look at all the things we complained about over the last 2 to 3 years, and our suggestions of how to fix it, you're seeing at least the plan to try to do that where it makes sense. The one thing I hate about Salah, and you nailed it, you hate it perfectly. His philosophy was, our system works, trust us. We know it works, trust us. But we haven't seen it work, coach. That's the problem, right? So don't tell us it works. We know it doesn't. Explain adjustments. Where as of this show, Aaron Glenn speaks in detail about what he's doing and why. Like, he literally tells you the vision. This is what my defense does, and this is why we do it. This is why we do this on offense. He doesn't give you fluff. He doesn't give you excuses. He doesn't like, well, it's, just trust me. I know it works. I've seen it in defense. No, let's see it here now. It hasn't worked. So it's going to be interesting, man. I cannot wait for the practices to start. I'm curious to see so many different levels of this team and how they handle it, and just, there's going to be adversity, how they handle that. But I mean, I'm excited, man. I'm so excited that there's new regimes in place and they're trying this different approach, especially when you see the top players all buying into it.
Yeah, dude. And just something else to make a note of, something small. It really feels like Aaron Glenn is so hands-on with his football team. Like, he's talked about wanting to be a contributor on offense. Obviously, he's going to be hands-on on defense. Sorry, my cat's down here. And we also know Glenn got the job first. So if Darren Muji's coming in second as the general manager, the Jets are not the 33rd team. They're not going to hire a GM that Glenn doesn't want to work with. So, we could assume, okay, Glenn is in favor of Darren Muji and he's excited to work with him, and they have the same vision for this team. The point is, Aaron Glenn is a busy dude. He has a lot of responsibilities. I think if you bring in one of these veteran coaches, and Mike Westhoff, and Bill Parcells, it could be, just someone that Glenn has worked with, even a former player potentially down the road, a couple weeks from now, a month from now, whenever, you could get valuable insight because Glenn has so much on his plate. He could miss something simple, and it's nothing against Glenn, but it's just like, if you have 50 million things that you got to worry about, maybe bringing in that old coach that you used to work with, or that player that you were boys with back in the day, you're bringing him into the practice field, practice setting. I don't necessarily know if these coaches are going to be like allowed in like meetings and stuff like that, but there always could be that point of, hey, have you tried this? Why aren't you doing this? And Glenn can be like, oh my God, it's a great idea. I was planning on it, but I forgot, or it slipped my mind, or I have these 10 things that I have to do instead. And that one thing that I was planning on doing just got put to the back burner, involuntarily. So I think, it's not going to hurt the Jets in any sort of way to bring in more assistants, to bring in more veteran leadership. That was the big draw with Scott Turner, like you mentioned, dude. That was the big draw with Rick Spielman. You're adding veterans, you're adding guys that have done this before, but you're also adding guys with connections. So the more the merrier, right? I think this is going to be a pretty hands-on. The Jets aren't done. Like, the build is not finished. It's kind of just getting started here. So, yeah, the more the merrier.
Now, how long? See, in my opinion over here, I think they used OTAs and mandatory minicamp to kind of assess what they have, identify what they think they have. Then when the pads go on, you start figuring out, all right, now we really know what we have here. Guy's not physical enough, not fast enough, maybe slow, whatever it is. How long do you think it takes to identify, all right, we have a hole in this team? Like, we think we have a good defensive line. Well, you know what? This is becoming a concern. Would you say take up until the first preseason game, like all those couple weeks of practice, pads, no pads, drills, all the film study, when because now you're in the building every day. Now you're getting coached every day. You're not, not on one day, off 2 days like you're here. How long do you, as a coaching staff, say, you know what, we need help here? Would you say first preseason game?
Dude, that's a great question. That's honestly a question that Aaron Glenn should be asked tomorrow or the next day whenever he's up at the podium. I think for me, the answer would be it depends, right? It depends on the position. It depends on how much responsibility that position has. I think Glenn and Wilkes can probably identify a hole at safety or corner maybe quicker than a different position that they don't really have familiar with. Maybe something on the offensive side of the football. But I would say, just generally speaking, for an NFL in this day and age with like the 3 preseason games set up, I would say you got to give everyone a shot up through the first preseason game,
Yeah.
like that's going to be the cutoff. I mean, because if you have someone struggling all camp and you get to that first preseason game and it's been nothing but struggles, and then he struggles in the game, I think, at that point you probably just have to make a decision on, hey, should we sign a replacement? Should we look for an upgrade? Should we look for a trade or something like that? Because guys have bad practices, and
Yep.
guys have a rough week, or if you're a young player, maybe you really excel with the athletic side of things and you look the part on the field, but it's the mental thing, or you're a step slow in the processing game, or if you're a quarterback, like rattling a play off to the huddle, or if you're a wide receiver, understanding where what the play call is and being where you need to be, being on the same page with the quarterback. So I think all positions have different strengths and weaknesses, different positives and negatives here. And I also think at the same time there's different timelines for them all too. But simple answer, by that first preseason game, you should at least have a pretty good understanding of what this unit looks like or what this player looks like. Ideally, you probably have two players battling it out where it's a good thing. Like, hey, we really like this guy, but we also like this guy. We have to make a tough decision, and the other guy, the other player can get put on the practice squad, as opposed to, everyone at this one spot is not living up to it, and we have to now go out and hit the free agent market and spend money.
Yeah, because like say for example, like I'm focused on offense where it's like, all right, after 3 weeks, if wide receivers aren't consistently getting separation, a lot of drop passes, or if tight ends aren't consistently, aren't doing great in blocking or dropping passes, like, all right, by the first preseason game, if you see this glaring where it's all right, this wide receiver group is underwhelming us right now, I'm hoping that Glenn and Muji are like, all right, you know what? We thought we had this. We don't. Let's not be complacent, and let's not wait till last minute to make this change. Let's make the move now, because our goal is to win week one. Let's not like I think you mentioned before, like the arrogance of the previous regime bothered me. Where I think they were stubborn sometimes to make moves because like, oh no, we'll get it figured out, and they knew it was a problem. They kind of ignored it, like, nah, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. And then it was too late. I'd rather be more proactive. Like, listen, we're thin here. We know we're thin, and while being thin, we're also not performing well. Let's shake things up and bring somebody else in here and see if we can get a better production, because we want to win. We want to win this year. And I'm curious if they take that approach. And I'm with you. I'm at that first preseason game. Like, oh, listen, you had a rough camp. Maybe you're a gamer. Maybe the lights come on, you play better. Who knows?
Exactly, dude.
Like
exactly.
That happens a lot. Then it's like, okay, but if that doesn't happen, listen, man, we can't stop the run with these guys. We see it in practice day in, day out. We have joint practices. They're not doing it there. We got to make a change. Now I'm hoping they take that approach.
Yeah, I remember the buzz around Robbie Anderson was just, hey, he's really fast. But it wasn't until preseason that when the lights came on and it was game day, where this guy's out there making plays and he's turning heads. It's like, dude, who is this undrafted free agent that we brought in from Temple, who is flying down the field and making these great catches, no matter who's playing quarterback, by the way? It wasn't until that game, or those preseason games. So because that hype and everything, it's not like Robbie was a second round pick and everyone had this expectation for him or anything like that. It was okay, yeah, he's a fast player. We knew this in camp, but that was really all that was kind of talked about. It wasn't like, oh, be on the lookout for this guy, watch out for him, he's gonna make a lot of plays. No, it's just he has speed. But once we went up against the other team, all of a sudden, I think he honestly opened up some eyes. So yeah, I mean, you never know who that guy could be. I mean, Xavier Gibson was someone who was undrafted and turned heads, or showed off quickness and agility, like some pretty impressive stuff in preseason action. So yeah, I think I'm not going to tell an NFL head coach how to do their job, but I personally feel like it would be unfair, unless it's blatantly obvious, to cut a player or make a decision on a player that, like, maybe today it's completely wide open, but on Thursday you're like, it's over, just for whatever reason. Like, I want to give them at least, I know it's a tough business, the NFL, and there's always someone waiting to take your job, but I like to give guys at least up until that first preseason game.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. And again, injuries happen, like Malachi Corley coming off a year where he barely played at all. And when he did play, he made a huge mistake. In practice, now he's hurt. He missed most of the practices because he's banged up. It's like, all right. And Aaron Glenn talked about it. We talk about it all the time, man. Your best ability is availability. If you're not here, we don't know what you are. We inherited you. We don't know what you are as a player. You've got to show us. If you don't show us, we can't play you. You can't earn your spot here. So that's where you're curious to see how that plays out as well, because he's got a lot to prove, dude. They didn't draft you. You're a guy they inherited. So if you don't play to their standard, you're not going to be here. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. You know what I mean? So it's like it's the wide receiver group to me is fascinating, because you have a lot of inexperience and a lot of younger guys you're counting on that hopefully they can coach up and have good schemes for.
But on the flip side, we have seen situations where the Jets get rid of a player too early and it comes back to bite New York, right? Danny Woodhead. Like that was kind of, I mean, there's
Jet fans knew that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely can go both ways. Double-edged sword for sure. Like, you know, look, it's these guys have all the experience. They're getting paid millions of dollars to make these decisions. They have all these connections. They obviously have a talent to do these jobs, and they still get wrong. I mean, these guys, every general manager makes wrong moves every single year. You're never going to be year after year, every draft pick, every free agent. Every move is the right one. Like, it doesn't matter how experienced. You can put 50 years in the NFL, be the highest paid exec, whatever, and make mistake after mistake after mistake. So it's never a perfect science, but sometimes, you know, I don't know, man. For me, yeah, long story short, first preseason game, you should have a pretty good idea. Highs, lows, morning practice, night practice, maybe a joint practice thrown in there. You're seeing how they respond. Because if you only give a guy 2 days, and I'm not talking about just like a random workout, I'm saying like someone who's actually signed a contract right now with this team. If you only give a player like that 2 days, I mean, you don't know what's going on off the field. Maybe he's dealing with something, or maybe he's just a slow learner. It's going to take him 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's really going to, you know, start blooming on the field. And you don't want to jump the gun on situations like that. For me, what's the rush? Now, if the rush is we love this free agent,
exactly,
or we cut a player that we love desperately, we need him. Okay, you now have a reason to do it, but to go out and prematurely cut a player and not have, you know, to do that and not have a replacement lined up just to cut him because you feel like he doesn't belong. I just don't really like that mindset. Until we have a reason to cut him, let's keep him because we don't know. Everyone's wrong every year. We can maybe find something here.
Well, man, that's why you treat all these past 3 months as an audition. You're auditioning through your OTA's audition, mandatory minicamp audition. Okay, you've made it this far as a young player. Now you're invited to training camp amongst 90 players, however many it is this time. Okay, now you're here. Show us what you got. Can you stay healthy? Can you compete? Are you competing day in and day out? Are you doing your film study? Are you sticking to your diet? There's so many. Are you gonna be a pro or are you gonna be a bum? Like, what are you gonna be? And then we decide what we do with you. And then can you compete on game day? So I agree with you. You don't want to cut too early, but you're using all the information gathered, especially when you tell the players what your standard is. This is what we expect of you day in and day out. Can you handle that over the next 6 months? If you can, great, you'll be here. If you can't, you know what? You're not for us. You're not going to fit our program. And I think in the past, Saleh enabled a lot of guys bad behavior, and they got away with it. And then once you know you can get away with something, you're always going to do it, right? If I get a bad penalty and I'm not coming out of the game, all right, that would be a big deal. I'm probably going to do it again. If I get a bad penalty, right? But that's like, and you'd see other teams where they won't tolerate certain things. Like, doesn't matter what your name of the player is, you're out. 2 plays, 3 plays, whatever it is. Not like, don't worry about it. Get them next time. That's an innocent mistake. Mistakes cost you points. They cost you yards, and that you can't keep letting them stack up. So that's something where this is all kind of you're gathering information on these players, and then you make the best decision you can, especially like you mentioned, when there's other guys out there that pique your interest. You see a team like the Steelers cut somebody, or the Ravens or Chiefs, like, hey, you know what? That guy could be an upgrade. How do we really feel about this kid? He's not coming along, or this veteran who's making decent money, but he's not really panning out, not really buying in. You know, you cut the cord then. So I'm hoping this staff has a good pulse of what's going on, and they're not scared to be aggressive and make an unpopular decision to us. So to some, kicking Aaron Rodgers out of the building was not a popular decision. They didn't care about that. They do what's best for the organization. I hope they keep that mindset going forward too. We're like, listen, maybe just for example, Breece Hall. Everybody loves Breece Hall, but you know what? Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Don Edwards are playing their asses off. Breece is kind of expendable right now. Maybe we could trade him. Like, if they think that's what's best for the organization, don't care about the fans, don't care about the media, just do what you think is best and make those moves. Where I think in the past this regime didn't really do that. And Brees was just an example. I'm not trying to say trade him. I'm saying whatever. Right. It's just a name. So that's where that's where it gets interesting for me when you look into how Muji and Spielman handled and Glenn handled this roster.
Yeah, it definitely feels a lot more like, and you know, I'm surprised, man, because when JD got the job, like he was one of the highest. I think he was either he was definitely one of the highest paid GMs, but I think he could have been the highest paid GM. And Chris Johnson, I believe, was the one who actually hired him in the first place. But
Adam Gase hired him.
yeah, active or interim general manager. Remember that weird time?
Disaster.
But I don't know. For some reason, dude, it just feels like with Darren Muji, not saying he's acting like a fan, but it just feels like both Muji and Glenn knew exactly what the problems were with this organization. That it like JD was here for 6 years, bro. Saleh was here for 3.5, right? 3.25, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Ulbrich was here, and it just never felt like they knew, or like they had their eyes open and they were looking at what the issues are. Maybe they did and they didn't have the power to change it, which I find hard to believe. But you know, I mean, who even knows what the hell went on during these past 6 years? But it just feels like when Muji and Glenn took the job, it's like they were it's like they were watching every single game and they knew what the problems were. They knew there was culture issues. I mean, the losing is losing, but it just felt like in those intro press conferences, they hit right on exactly where the Jets needed help. And that to me is really important because, again, not only does it just speak to self-awareness, but it also speaks to your awareness of the job that you're taking and what it where are the biggest holes that need to be, patched. In other words, right? We're not going to whatever dilly-dally around. We're on this 6-year contract and then, that second round pick didn't work out. Whatever. I have 5 more draft classes to make it work. It just feels like very hands-on, very, hey, what can we do today to make maybe this football team a little bit better? Not selling out, but at the same time balancing the long term, balancing the short term, while also, creating financial flexibility for this team as well, dude. That it's, to me, like that's such an underrated. Like, I know there's so much to talk about, right, with Glenn and Fields and the rookies and all these different guys, but I feel like one storyline that's flying under the radar is just the cap space that the Jets have, not only this year but next year, dude. Like, we could be some big time players in the free agent market, or hey, maybe a big name is on the trade market or something. Terry McLaurin, something happens there. The Jets, if they want, they can bring this guy in and hand out a 4-year big time deal. Not necessarily saying hand out another Garrett Wilson deal to a wide receiver, but the point is we have the power to do that. In the end of the Douglas era, it felt like very just strapped, like money going to Rodgers, money going to Adams, money going to Bryce Huff, or not Bryce Huff, sorry. Money going all these different directions, dead money, just go, CJ Uzomah, like all these different guys were eating up so much of the cap. We were a 5-win team with like a maxed out, cap situation. That just doesn't really make sense. A team that's kind of in a similar, or, I guess they kind of still are in a similar boat is the Saints, where they're not projected to win a lot of games. They're not winning a lot of games, but they're paying their roster like a ton. Normally you think of like bad team, they don't have a lot of talent. And if you don't have a lot of talent, it either means like you're not really seeing big contracts. Think of like the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like they signed all these different players, Diggs, Harold Landry, Milton, all these guys, and they still have like $50-60 million in cap space, So I think that's, to me, just a really cool place, or a really cool maybe backbone to kind of fall, just when maybe things get a little rocky or whatever. It's just nice to know that, hey, we have the flexibility to go out and make a move. It's not going to kill the franchise. It's not going to strap the franchise moving forward. Like, oh my God, this is an all-in move. We're risking everything here. No, we have the power to make these moves happen and be okay doing it.
Yeah, and to your point, I think the Glenn and Muji seem to have a pulse of the organization and a pulse of the locker room, which I think is really important too. Like, where they kind of sense, they knew what they inherited here. Like, all right, this team is a little bit of disarray, dysfunction, don't have leadership here, don't have guidance there. They don't have this here. The cap is a mess. How do we handle that? I think they knew what they were inheriting and had a clear and concise plan of how to kind of change things up. And I think it's really encouraging as well. The one thing I wanted to ask you is, because I can't believe it's over now already, is what's one player that you think that could surprise us here, come out of nowhere and just completely surprise us? Who's one player?
Surprise us as in what? Like fans think he's not good, or
and be a big time contributor, like come out of nowhere and be a big time contributor. Because there's always one every year where you're like, oh, this guy came out of nowhere. He's a really good player that we didn't expect.
Dude, that's a really good point. Really good question. I'm gonna say there's a lot of hate around Brandon Stevens right now, and and I get it, right? Whatever. If you take a look at the stats, the analytics and stuff, and even like kind of the maybe buzz from Ravens fans when the Jets sign him, like he's getting how much? I just don't like every move this Jets team has made has been calculated.
Yep.
It seems like every move that this team has made has been in the best interest of the team, best interest overall of the organization. No one is above the team. And it doesn't really feel like, I mean, obviously there's no pressure here in year one. Like these guys just took the job. There's no, mandate coming down from ownership. You better sign this player. We better get 10 wins this year. Like it's year one. These guys are stepping into a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Or at the time, back in January, a lot of work that needs to be done. In other words, why would they hand out a 3-year deal, be on the hook for 3 years, paying $36 million to a player that they just don't believe in, or they don't think is going to fit, or they don't think is going to work out? I just feel like there's got to be more to the story with Brandon Stevens and this whole signing. And I get that it's easy to write him off and everything like that based off of last season. But, I mean, dude, this is the NFL. Anything can happen. And especially if you have a player swapping teams, playing in a new system, and he's being handed a 3-year deal. We could have brought back DJ Reed for that.
Yep.
Now, who knows? Maybe DJ Reed didn't want to come back. I'm going elsewhere. That's totally fair. But, dude, 3 years, 36 mil for a player that people look at as, like, awful. I just there's got to be something there. There's got to be belief there. So I'll say Brandon Stevens, but if it's not Stevens, I'll say Zaire Thomas.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Leonard Taylor. I think that Leonard Taylor's shown a lot of good things. I think he's going to get a chance to contribute. But the guy I think is going to have a monster year is Braylon Allen, dude. Braylon Allen, because I think, if anything, I think Breece, and I'm not discounting Breece, it's going to come off really poorly, but I think Breece will be very active in the passing game, and they may use him early on. But I think Braylon Allen will be the bell cow to wear the defense down, short yardage, goal line, third and fourth quarter, and the defense is tired, just beat them up. But I think he's going to have a much bigger role, especially behind this offensive line, dude, where that ground and pound approach, that physical mindset, that nasty mindset, which Braylon Allen's shown that, dude. So I think while Breece will get his numbers, I think he's going to be a force on this team. I really do.
Dude, I love Braylon, man. He's one of my favorites. He's probably my third favorite player on offense. Yeah. I love him, dude. I love his game. Cisco, it's a good choice, Chris. But I think Cisco has pretty high hopes. Like I think there's a lot of I mean, at least for me, like I don't view Cisco as like a under the radar, like if he plays well, I'm gonna be surprised by it.
Now, how many starting positions do you think are legitimately up for grabs right now? Overall on the 22 positions, how many do you think there's a chance where there could be a surprise, or like it's like a legitimate competition?
I would say 4, 5.
Oh, right.
Strong safety. I would say defensive tackle, slot wide receiver, the Z, wide receiver 2.
Center?
Nah, I don't really. I mean, yeah, technically that's like a positional battle, but I just don't. I right now I have a hard time just viewing that as like a 50-50 wide open. Given just what Tippmann was one of the better centers in football last year. He's still on his rookie deal. I just would feel maybe a little uneasy starting like week 1 rolls around against the Steelers and he's on the bench. I don't know. He's too much of a young player. Like I don't want to just rule him out and say this guy can't get any better.
What about
assuming that the offensive line coach is better too. Because I mean, if he was able to put up that type of production that early in his career with what we had with Keith Carter and Hackett and these guys, what is really stopping Tippmann from getting better with I'm going to assume a better offensive staff.
Now, what about tight end? Do you feel
I
comfortable?
think that's going to be Mason Taylor.
But I mean, what about the blocking, the tight end too? Like, is it going to be Ruckert and see what happens? Because Stone Smart seems like early on he's like more of like a receiver than he is a big blocking guy. Are you comfortable with Ruckert, or is Ruckert fighting for his life in this camp?
I mean, for me, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm comfortable with it. I would actually really like the Jets to sign a blocking tight end, cheap 1-year deal, right? Like Atkins from former Cleveland Brown, former Houston Texan, like 1 year $4 million, 1 year $3 million. It's not going to do anything to the cap, and he'd come in and be the best like blocking.
But they also have a fullback too. What's his name?
Beck. Yeah,
you got a fullback. Maybe that's the role too, and that you don't. Maybe I don't know. I'm curious that could be a position that the tight end group could be in flux too. I think as well.
Yeah. So for me, slot, wide receiver 2, D tackle, strong safety, corner 2.
Yeah, that's fair. That's interesting. It's not as many as you would think when you say the Jets are a bad team, bad roster. They have like a lot of guys that in theory are already in place, and some that are Pro Bowl players too. So the cupboard's not bare,
Yeah, man, dude, it should be exciting, bro. This is unfortunately, but by the way, thanks so much for everyone tuning in, hanging out. This will be the last podcast before meaningful Jets practices.
That's right.
And then, first preseason game's quickly approaching, man. Like, I can't even believe how close it actually is. Like, it feels like yesterday we were just doing like draft, mock drafts and talking about like, oh, Membu, Tyler Warren, that whole, conversation. Crazy how time flies. But dude, I'm freaking pumped up, man. Tomorrow, do you know? So practices are for sure going on tomorrow.
I think they have to because they all reported today. I'm sure they begin tomorrow. Probably like it's a slow start. They don't go out like full pads right away.
Yeah.
Like that meetings but I saw the one thing. What are your thoughts on Noah Fant?
I like Noah Fant. I don't necessarily love him. I just feel like it would be maybe a little. I mean, look, if news breaks that the Jets are signing Noah Fant, cool. They obviously have a plan for him, but I just feel like that it might be a little redundant. I don't want the Jets to sign Fant and him all of a sudden take half of Mason Taylor's reps.
Yep.
I think Fant will probably, honestly, a team that I could see. Oh, never mind. Actually, I was gonna say a team I could see bringing in Fant is Pete Carroll and the Raiders.
Yeah,
but like as the tight end too. But there was a report that came out, I think, a couple of weeks ago, saying that they're actually going to be keeping Michael Mayer.
So, killing me.
Yeah, he's your guy, bro. He's your guy.
Trying.
But yeah, bro, Jamal Adams signed with Pete Carroll or signed with the Raiders. Geno Smith, obviously, now with the Raiders. It seems like there's an emphasis on getting guys that he's worked with before in the past, which is interesting. But yeah, man, I think that's going to do it for us.
Yeah, I mean, like next time we talk, we're talking about actually practices and arguing about things and changing up. I'm excited, man. This is a fun time. Football's back. It's a great time, and I'm just looking forward to all of it.
Dude, one thing I'm actually looking forward to is me and you disagreeing on a topic and like actually getting into an argument about it.
I mean, I'm
a full-on debate, not argument, full-on debate about it.
It's coming. I can guarantee you it's coming now. It's because last year we were just like we were beaten and just the team beat us up. We were just so defeated by everything. I think this year we'll definitely have some arguments.
Okay, dude, bro, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, like I said at the start of the stream, like my head's kind of all over the place. My buddy had to put down his dog he was 16. Kind of like, childhood dog and everything. Yeah, so yeah, tough. So I appreciate, and obviously the Ozzie Osborne news as well. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging in, tuning in, guys. I appreciate. And tomorrow practices begin. Let's freaking go. And as always, go Jets.